June. Yeah, I think it was June. Laying back, head on the grass, chewing gum, having some laughs. Yeah, having some laughs. For two, drinking with you when drinking was new, sleeping in the back of my car. We never went far, we didn't need to go far. Remembering you, what happened to you? I wonder if we'll meet again. Talk about life since then. Talk about why.
And good evening, everybody, and welcome to the live LUF Lounge. We've got a great show on tonight with loads of information for you all. I'd like to introduce Jason, who's going to be our host for this evening. So Jason, take it away.
Hello everybody and good evening. So you all better be kind tonight because it's my first live LUF. So I'm nervous, so I'm hoping there's going to be some good comments. So just let me start by saying thank you for everybody taking time out of the day. And yeah, and being with us, we really acknowledge that and thank you, much appreciated. So I'm going to go on to Tracy from Lancashire.
Hi, my name's Tracy Sanders. I'm the programme manager for the Justice and Safety team at Lancashire Women, and we provide the services for the women in the criminal justice system in prison and on probation to supporting them back to a different way of life.
I'm sorry about that. Is Will there? Hello, Will.
I am. Hello, how are you doing, everyone? Yeah, I'm well.
And is Chris there?
I am. Cheers for asking me to come along and share on the LUF. And hello, everybody.
Yeah, so these people are here tonight because these are the actual people that are going to be doing the live stories for us. So, you know, we'll have to show them a bit of respect around that stuff. I am nervous, so I do apologise just for coming straight in with Tracy. I've never done this before and it's new and I can't believe it because someone actually trusted me for doing it. So yeah, so let's get involved and let's get loads of shows and that. You know, we want to get this out there and we want to be passionate around this, and this is what this is important. It's important that we have a voice and an opinion around recovery. You know, so without people liking and sharing this, when we're never going to get anywhere, are we? You know, so it's really important that you all do that tonight. So I'm hoping with my Bolton accent, it's kind of going to bring you a few of us in, you know, and let's get talking, man. Let's have a discussion around recovery and what people are doing in the community, because that's the important thing. You know, and that's why the people are here tonight and taking time out of the day and doing the live story, because that's what they're doing in their recovery. You know, and that's why we're all here. I do come across quite passionate, but that's why I'm doing this, people. I'm trusted. I just hope you're going to like it. I really do. So I think that's enough now. So we are going to go on to Tracy. So I think you've got the slot for half an hour, Tracy, if I'm right.
Half an hour is a long time, Jason.
Well, we'll see how you go along. You know, my mouth will keep everybody glued in anyway. So yeah. So I'm just going to say, I'm not even going to introduce you. I'll let you do that. So I'm going to hand the baton over to you, so to speak. So thanks everybody for watching once again. And yeah, it's over to you, Tracy.
Okay, so I work for Lancashire Women. We're a Lancashire-wide organisation that supports women, empowers them, brings them together. However, our services aren't always limited to women. We do acknowledge that men have needs as well, and there are some services that we do deliver for men. My niche is criminal justice work and working with the women involved in the criminal justice system. So we support women from Lancashire who are in prison and on probation across the county. We partner with the probation service and deliver the community rehabilitative services across Lancashire. So we work to try and reduce barriers to reduce reoffending. However, it's not the only work we do. Lancashire Women has got 4 work streams. We offer money advice and guidance. We offer employment support, and we have a community and wellbeing team. The offer varies a little bit across the county, but we try to keep everything under one roof. And the idea is that a woman comes into service and then they can access all of our support. We do work across the county with partners as well, including Red Rose Recovery. We've very recently took on a new role at the minute. We have our own dedicated recovery worker for female-specific recovery and support them into services like Red Rose, support them to the groups, support them with referrals in. As we recognise that engagement sometimes for women can be very, very difficult and challenging. There's often a lot of different issues for women that need, and to reduce those barriers so that we can get them into these services like Red Rose and, you know, help them with their recovery. So this is something that we're quite passionate about at Lancashire Women. We work with a lot of women who suffered with substance misuse, and being able to have this new niche role to be able to support those women into specific services is a really good opportunity for us, and it's something that we're really excited about. Across the border, we've got women's centres across Lancashire and outreach posts that we work from. So we've got a centre in Burnley, we've got a centre in Accrington, we've got a centre in Blackpool, we've got outreach posts in Preston, Lancaster, Colne. Have I forgotten anywhere? I quite possibly could have done, but I'm not 100% sure. Scam, we work in Scam as well. So we try to make sure that we're all inclusive of people. We do outreach for those women who can't get to our centres or our outreach appointments. So we try and work in a really holistic way and support women with all their needs. Rather than looking at the needs, we see the person as the whole and try and address and support any issues that they've got, whether it be things related to family, accommodation. We do a lot of work, especially through the work that we do with the women in the criminal justice system, trying to support them into accommodation, building links with housing providers, and trying to make sure that they've got that. You can't do anything if you've not got a roof over your head, making appointments, and we recognise all these things and all these barriers. We do offer support for men. Unfortunately, not on my work stream. We are specifically for women. However, men can access our sort of financial services, our money advice and debt services, the employment support. Some of those projects are open as well, and some of our therapeutic offers are open to men. While our women's centres are specifically for women, we will see men in outreach posts or work remotely with them or meet them in the community. There's different ways of doing things. And so while we are for women, we're also inclusive. So for me, it's really important for us to be here because there are women and men out there who may need that kind of support that we can offer. It's been just to be able to be on here and to be able to sort of share what we do, because I think a lot of people think that we're a domestic abuse service, and we're not. While we do offer support for women who are in abusive relationships, we're not about domestic abuse. We are about the person as a whole and making sure that we can reduce all those barriers that women face. and move towards equality. Because while we live in a much better place at the minute, there is still a difference and there's still inequality in the world, especially with women in the criminal justice system. We have a base at HMP Style, which is something that I'm incredibly proud of. It's where I started my Lancashire Women journey, and we set up the Enhanced Through the Gate programme at HMP Style, which is now amalgamated into the new contracts that we have. So I worked for 2.5 years at HMP Style, working with women pre-release and to support them back into the community and making sure that they had the best opportunity possible when they were coming out of custody, and making sure that that support was in place. There was something very different about what Lancashire Women did there compared to some of the other services. Most services in prison stopped at the gate, whereas we were a through route. Our community caseworkers would come into the prison, and still do. We still deliver the same service, but they'd come into the prison, they'd meet the women, they'd build that relationship, because whatever anyone says, it's all about relationships and it's all about trust. And as Lancashire Women goes, we need our women to trust us because we are there for them, and if they don't work with us. So it's been a bit of a journey for me, myself, as the programme manager, and coming to this point, starting in that. But the importance of recovery for women and for the people that we work with, it's massive. After accommodation, it's possibly our biggest barrier for our service users. And it's something that we're continuing to try and bridge that gap for them so that we can link in. And also the other way around, we've got a relationship with Red Rose, and, where you can refer yourself in, or you can be supported to be referred in, so that you can come and enter into our services. You don't have to be on probation or in prison. There's lots of options available within Lancashire Women to support people. So, anybody got any questions for me?
You're on mute, Barbara.
Yeah, I've been sent one. 7 has asked, why does the system let so many down? It upsets them that they have to turn to the likes of ourselves for help, and yourself.
Yeah, and it does, and it is all about system change, and that's something we're really passionate at Lancashire Women about, myself especially. And especially, obviously, my specialty is women, and I don't want to be excluding any men who are watching. I see things from the point of view of a woman in the criminal justice system, because that's my job. And I know that the criminal justice system also lets men down as well. However, it is all about system change, and it will take time, and it's something that we've got to move towards, and evidence that the things that work. And that's why it's so important that services like ours and like Red Rose do prove that we can support these people and are given the right support from statutory organisations, so from probation, from the NHS, to make sure that they keep our services going so that we can help these people. Yeah. And it is, unfortunately, about the ongoing need for systems change. Sorry, Jason. People who enter into the criminal justice system straight away, I've got everything's twice as hard for them, 10 times as hard for them, getting accommodation, being able to access finances, being able to access a bank account. Like, a lot of people would not even imagine that there's people out in the world who haven't got a bank account. And when I first started at HMP Style, the difficulties that we had getting people bank accounts, it was almost like a pointless task actually filling in that form. It has got better now, thankfully. But when I first started there, I'd fill out the bank account form, and I'd know full well that that bank account was going to get rejected. It did every time. If they didn't have an address, if they didn't have any ID. Whereas now the process has been made a lot easier, and slowly but surely I'm hoping that things do change, but it will take time. And it's about making sure that we speak out about it and evidencing where the gaps are, and continuing to do so from our work. Sorry, Jake.
Glenn has got his hands up, so that means he's got a question.
No,
I'm
not
going to sing, Glenn. I am not going to sing.
No, it's fine.
Not just yet, anyway. Maybe for a finale.
I've got a question for you. So you mentioned about people can self-refer in. how would they go about doing that?
Okay, so if you go onto our website, which is lancashirewomen.org, there is a self-referral form on there. Now, for anybody who's involved in the criminal justice system, their referral pathway is different. It will come from professionals, but those professionals will be aware of that system. But anyone who needs any additional support who isn't involved in the criminal justice system, they can either go on the website and self-refer, or you put me on the spot, I need to remember the phone number, or you can call our 0300 number, which is, if you bear with me for 2 seconds.
I'll put it in the chat.
Yeah.
And while it's going in the chat, can I say that Emily actually went through one of your units and is now running groups from your units, which is absolutely amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing. It's really nice to hear. And if Emily wants to get in touch and tell us her story, I would love to hear that too. I'd be really happy to it. We often want, I like to know where our girls get to. And it's really nice to hear when what we've done has had an impact in someone's life. The number is 0300 330 1354.
0300. Say that again, Teresa. I'm putting it in the chat.
Hold on, I've just turned my phone off. Bear with me. 0300 330 1354.
Right, that's in the chat, guys.
And what will happen when you ring, what will happen when you call is one of our first, or when you self-refer in, one of our first contact operatives will take your details. They'll just take brief explanation of what it is, what support it is you feel like you need. And then that referral will be moved over to the correct team. And someone from that team will call up to do sort of an initial assessment, just assessment of needs, to see what support we can offer you.
The link is in the chat for anybody that's struggling out there and wants to refer in. So the link to the website, but also the phone number.
And I've just got to encourage people to do it, because we are a great service and we're very warm and welcoming, and we'll do anything that we can to support people.
Right.
Sorry, Babs.
No, go on. You go, babe.
So obviously, at the moment, with all this COVID stuff going on and people having to wear masks, and I've noticed in some services, people are actually scared of going into buildings, So what do you do around that?
So since obviously we've learned to work in a different way since we went into the lockdown, however long ago it was initially, when we thought we were going in for 4 weeks and it's lasted forever. But we've learned to work in a different way, and we're taking a real hybrid approach to our support services at the minute. We have the opportunity to come into the centre, which is really important for some people to move back into that sort of social environment. But while obviously we recognise that people are nervous, especially people who've got any underlying health conditions or anything like that, and then we've got new variants flying around. So I mean, all our services can be done via the phone or via Zoom. We deliver therapy online. Our money advice appointments, they'll give you an option. Do you want to come in, or do you want remote support? So there's no need to be concerned about that. It can be done in a different way.
Thank you.
My comments have just suddenly shot up and down, but we did have a comment.
They're not asking me to sing, are they?
Yeah, no.
Just share and like, people, come on.
Michael was saying about somebody is now helping people get ID and passports so that they can get a bank account. And as I was trying to write down what it was, it just shot right off the screen. So I'm not quite sure that was Michael.
It could be talking. I think there's a couple of places. DWP have got some projects running at the minute. I mean, we help people get ID. We've got some options. It's more difficult when people are in custody, though. When people are in prison, it's not. Those options aren't always available to them until actual release, which hinders some things. But as I say, those barriers they've reduced quite a lot. DWP are helping people. I think HSBC and Shelter have got some projects running together as well. So there are options out there for people to tap into.
Yeah, it's starting to get better. It's starting to get better. And Emily Jane's life story is on Facebook, and she's already had 553 views.
That's
so,
amazing.
Yeah,
You must be good.
yeah, she
That's
is good.
amazing.
Right, is there anything else, anybody? Any more questions, please? No, I've not quite a question, but I work in Skelmersdale and I'm an engagement worker. Please get in contact with me. I'm quite happy to do some extra work with you.
Well, our recovery worker was, I mean, she's up there. She's been engaging some of our women. So I think that she possibly will be in touch soon. She was up there the other week doing some outreach and visiting some women and getting to know them before she starts with her referrals and linking in with other services. So if you want to make sure I've got your email address, Barbara, or Glenn's got mine and he's going to email me later anyway. So if Glenn could send it over, then I'll make sure that you link in with our recovery worker, Eloise.
Yeah, because I have some women's groups running, so it'll be quite good.
Yeah, no, that'd be really good. We can work together on that.
Brilliant, more work for me.
And me and everyone, but that's what we do.
Yeah, that is the point. Okay, Jason, back over to you.
I was just thinking, right, so is that, someone just say thank you to Tracy then for coming along and sharing our...
Pleasure, been a pleasure being here, and I hope
Thank you for turning up.
Yeah, sorry, Michael has been back on. The bank account, no, he said, but the UC will pay for a driving license or a passport to help you get your ID. Brilliant.
And then
Thank you, Michael.
that reduces those barriers to getting a bank account in the community.
Yeah, brilliant.
I think there's a lot of support with DWP at the minute. I think there's a lot of projects and a lot of financial support to get people access to the things that they need. So if you do need things, it might be helpful to ask your work coach at the moment. Any other questions?
No, just thank you for coming.
Pleasure. Lovely to be here.
I hope you stay on, leave some comments. I hope you stay on and leave some comments for people and ask some questions.
I will. I won't be able to stay on for the full thing, but I'll stay for as long as I can. If that's okay.
Brilliant. Yeah, no problem. Thank you. So there we go, people. Those Tracy, and just want to say thank you once again. And thanks again for everybody turning up. So why do we have people like her coming on? Because it's important that we acknowledge other services that they're out there, and especially around the women stuff. Do you know, I just think it's a lot easier now if women are working with women, because they get a lot more open, especially in recovery. Do you know, I've just met a woman who's just come out of prison after serving 13 years in jail. Do you know, and she struggles around that sort of stuff. And this is what it's about. It's about acknowledging that there is services out there that are willing to support you and actually go out there and do Zoom, get in contact with you, go out and do home visits. So it's really important that we find organisations that we can work with, you know, around love. And that's what we all do. You know, we try to get about and we try to put organisations together like a jigsaw puzzle, you know. So we're all singing from the same hymn sheet, you know, and that's what it's about. It's about being in tandem and in tune in it. And that's what I like to think, and I hope that's what it's going to be about in the future, because if we're all doing that, then we've all got experience in different areas. So it just makes it a stronger organisation and other organisations who can get involved. So people like you who are coming on from a professional background, because like me, I don't have one of them. Do you know, I've been in prison and stuff, and they've actually done, do you trust in me doing this? Do you know, and that's my background, and it's same with the girls out there, and they've got a lot of barriers they've got to deal with. You know, they've come out, and a lot of women have kids, and we don't understand that. As gents, we don't understand that, unfortunately. So it's good that there's people out there who are actually flying in the flag for women. So yeah, thanks ever so much for your time. I think in a couple of minutes, well, I think how long? A minute, Babs. We'll get Chris on board. Is he ready for us?
I think he's nearly enough ready, yes.
Is he?
The love that's coming in is absolutely amazing. The
people share and like. Sorry, Babs, come on, get them questions out there, because we need to ask them questions. It needs to be done, Because without them and giving this acknowledgement for what it is and this platform tonight, we ain't going to get recognised out there. We ain't going to have a voice in recovery. Do you know? And this is people who've been behind a wall and been behind a gate for many and many years, and they're coming out and saying, I want to be a part of society. But do you know what? That it keeps pushing me back and it won't let me. But there's people out there, professionals, who are supporters and is in that. Do you know why do you think I've come along to be sat where I'm here today? Because of the belief that people in professional roles are given to me on a day-to-day basis. That's why I'm trusted doing this to use. Do you know? And it's important we get this message out there, people. So this Sherman like, it's got to be, I'm telling you, do it. Do you know? It's really, really important. It really is. I can't express that enough. And then questions, you know, and if there's nothing we can't answer, there's always somebody who can. There's always somebody who can support you, do you know? So just send an email through, send a text through, just get involved in some way, shape or form, okay?
Yeah.
So I think
connection is the main thing. Get out there, get back connected and get back into the communities. Okay, I think we must be ready for Christopher
Chris,
now, or did you want to come in?
We're
with
going to have a laugh
something,
now.
Glenn?
I've got a bit of something here, Babs. Is he ready?
Hang on, Jason. Go on, Glenn.
It was just to touch on what you said about connection. And obviously, because of the pandemic, we've not had a face-to-face LUF for nearly 2 years. We trialled it out a couple of weeks back, and we're going to be having a Christmas one on the 15th. So, because of COVID, we have to manage tickets. So I'm going to put a link in the description. And if you want to come to a face-to-face LUF, I would suggest get to one because they're absolutely amazing. And book yourself a ticket and get there.
Yeah, people are actually booking them on Eventbrite, so you kind of need to get it done because every day I'm getting questions or telephone calls. How do I book one of these tickets? So that's all I'm doing is pointing people to Eventbrite. Book it on there. It's really simple and dead easy, and it's there. Do you know, it's coming up on the 15th of December. Sorry, Glenn, for putting in.
Carry on. I'm just going to put a link in the description so they know how to get it.
Listen, we're going to have a bit of a laugh. Sorry, we're going to have a bit of a laugh now. Is Chris there? Is he ready? Where is he, my pal? Chris?
I'm here, mate.
Hiya. So,
Right.
can you hear me?
Yes, I'm mate.
When this finishes now, yeah, I want you to come in, okay?
I will do.
Let's get ready to rumble! Yeah! Come on, people!
Oh, no.
Come on. Love you, man.
Cheers, brother. Yeah, thanks for asking us to come on and speak about my life story and that. I was sat here listening to everyone and so nervous. You know, I was in the shower before and I've done an amazing life story in the shower, you know, and can't even think of what I said. But yeah, I appreciate you asking me to come on and share where I've been, my journey and where I am now. So yeah, I mean, if you rewind it to the beginning, you know, to my childhood, the first 5 or 6 years of my childhood were good, and it's really only them years I can remember, because when I was 5, 6, I seen my dad being abusive to my mum, and it was hard to see it, you know, from having what I can remember such a good start in life. And I mean, and this carried on for several years. Me and my sister were around it. My dad was an alcoholic. My mum became an alcoholic. Both me and my sister seen a lot of violence towards my mum. And my mum had had enough one day and she left me dad and she took me and my sister with her. And my dad found out where we were and he come round midnight one night and he was shouting up, he was crying, and my auntie at the time, she had a fella go out, wouldn't let him come in. And I remember sitting up in bed thinking, you know, I felt really sorry for him. And I ended up leaving and going home with my dad. But little did I know that the drinking would carry on, the abuse would carry on, but it'd be centered on me this time. And I lived with this for, a good 10, 11 years. And in them 10, 11 years, he beat the confidence out of me. He beat love out of me. And I just found it hard each day to get on with who I was and not being able to fit in. He was a long distance lorry driver, so he'd leave home in the morning about 4 or 5 o'clock, and he wouldn't come back home until the pub had shut. You know, and I was supposed to go to school and then go back home and not go out. And then when he came home from the pub, I'd just get beat on. He'd wake me up and beat on me. And as I say, so that went on till it was like, 13, 14, and I was involved with social services. But I was never put into care, you know, and there come a time where, you know, I ran away from home and I went to social services, and they knew the problems, and I had bruises on me and that, and that day they told me that just to go back home. You know, I don't think they were as good as they are today, social services, but so yeah, they just basically told me to go back home and whatever. I can't really remember. And this is how afraid I was of going back home. And to this day, I can't understand how we got this far. So there was a girl, she was a mate, like, didn't know her well, but she was a friend, should I say. And we left social services, and she knew someone in Torquay. And bearing in mind, we're only like 14 at the time. So we started to hitch it to Torquay, you know, and I can't really remember that far back of how we got there, but I remember we were like half an hour away, and we were at the services. We'd been dropped off at the services, and we were waiting at the services on the hard shoulder to get a lift, to get a lift to get to Torquay. And I was just so depressed, and I just didn't know where I was going and what I was doing. And by the grace of God, you know, the copper pulled up and said if we weren't off the hard shoulder, then he'd end up arresting us. Anyway, long story short, she got off and I waited on the hard shoulder and got picked up, and that was me then when I went into care. And I'd used drugs, but only marijuana, not much before I went into care. And then going into care in Liverpool, it was all about smoking weed, and that's basically kind of the road I went down for a while. And then, you know, other drugs came into use, and I think I was masking the drugs to deal with my not being able to communicate with people, not feeling like I can fit in. And it was an easy way for me to manipulate people, because it was me that got the drugs. It was me that stole the money for the drugs, you know. So ideally they weren't around because of me, you know, they were around because I had drugs. And that's kind of how it went. It's kind of how it was then for most of my life, you know, falling in and out of drugs, in and out of jail. And I thought, what could fix me, you know? And I thought maybe meeting someone and starting a family. And so I did. You know, I met someone, had my first daughter, you know, and you know, I never went to school and I never went to college. So, you know, I was never anyone, I wasn't someone that was able to put my head in a book and learn. You know, it wasn't like that for me at school, and I never really had to go to school in the first place. But so yeah, so for me it was selling drugs, you know, and working. So I worked and sold drugs. Never took the drugs at the time. Never. It was selling weed at the time, and so I was making good money from that. I was making sure, you know, the missus at the time had everything, and my daughter had everything, and so 5 years down the line from that, we had my second daughter. And it wasn't too long after that that things started going downhill. You know, because I never really loved her. We had an argument. We never argued, but this one time we had an argument, and she told me that I never told her that I loved her. And my thought on that was that I showed her in buying things and making sure we were okay in that. And then, you know, if I think back, you know, I was never shown that as a kid. So how could I, you know, project that, you know? So ultimately, we split up. And, you know, I worked around the corner from where we were living at the time, and then ended up moving to Ainsdale. Sorry, and that's where we kind of split up, Ainsdale. And so I needed a place in town, Southport. And I actually seen this kid one day, and when I used to sell the weed, it was his mate. And I seen him when I was doing the windows and that, and he said to me, he says, "Oh, there's somewhere you can stay at ours if you need somewhere to stay." And I thought, well, that's handy. It's down the road from work. And little did I know that he was a heroin user. I mean, because to look at him, you wouldn't have thought. Well, I never thought. And yeah, so I moved in, and it was the first night I stayed. He came down with a bag of gear, and so I started using it, and I hated it. You know, I was sick, felt ill, felt awful. But what I know now is I had a disease, you know, and that disease led me to cutting off all ties with my daughters, and just, you know, one day I'm there, you know, and we had a great relationship, to just not going round at all, for 15 years. And in them 15 years, my addiction took me to some pretty dark places, you know, from heroin to crack cocaine, to sticking needles in me, you know, and I felt helpless and hopeless, and ashamed, you know. And I think if I look back now, my disease used the fact that, used the girls, like, that I was depressed, that I wasn't there for them, which made me use more, which pushed me away more. And so, yeah, you know, I struggled with crack and heroin for 15 years. And not knowing anything about it being a disease, you know, I just thought I had a habit that I needed to kick. And that in jail for me was a respite, because I never used to eat, and I never used to drink any type of fluid. You know, I used to drink alcohol, but you know, I'm not alcoholic. I never have been. I'd use alcohol against my own will, to balance, you know, the chemicals out in the head through using heroin and crack cocaine. So yeah, so you know, gels were used as a rehab for me for the best part of 8 years. You know, I did actually get clean on my own 3 or 4 times, but the compulsion to pick up again and start using and lack of any self-will took me back out there, you know, and each time the disease done a number on me, to the point where, you know, I didn't really want to live in society, although I was too scared to ever end my own life, you know, always thinking something better would come along, and it never did at the time. I have a sister who's in recovery as well, and she's coming up 8 years clean now, and she's always, despite inner using or clean time, you know, she'd always come and find me, because I grew up in Southport on my own. I had no family there, no immediate family, and they live in Preston. And so I always tried to battle it on my own. But my sister had always come down. And even if I was in jail, you know, phones at that point, as people will understand that when Mr. D's as old of you, you know, you distance yourself from everyone. And she'd always find me, and it'd be probably every couple of years she'd come looking for me to see if I was still alive. And you know, I'm very grateful for my sister today, because when I got out of jail in 2018, she'd already been in recovery for 6 years. And, you know, I'd done 1.5 years, and that was me. I was done with the drugs. Well, this is what my head was telling me. I'm done with the drugs. And I didn't know how I was going to do it. And so I got released from jail. And my seed was planted of NA within the first month of coming out of jail. And in jail, it was never mentioned to me in jail or the drug clinic about NA or about any services down these lines. And so my sister took me to my first meeting, and I'd done 2 meetings, and I got given the books, got given numbers. And I remember it was on a the first was a Tuesday and the second day was the Friday. And on the Saturday morning I woke up, I had people phoning me, and I never bothered, I never answered, you know, and they constantly phone me over the weekends, and I just never answered, you know. I didn't feel right in the rooms. You know, it wasn't for me. You know, they say this about when you go into it, like you hear the word God, but you never hear the word God and then as you understand him. Do you know what I mean? It's just God. Do you know what I mean? And I was always, you know, unsure about the word God as I seen it there. You know, it's not the God of my understanding. I didn't realize, and so yeah, and the hugging and embracing, like, you know, I wasn't used to that. You know, I was afraid of that. You know, I afraid of being knowing who I am, wanting to know who I am, afraid of being who I am, and so yeah, so I totally ignored it. You know, I'd started seeing my daughters after 15 years. My youngest daughter I hadn't seen ever, so you know, I managed to see my youngest daughter because there's 2 separate mothers, and yeah, things were going all right, but you know, I was in a corner, you know, in the respect of the only people that I knew were people who were using, you know, and when you get them feel good factors, you want to give yourself a pat on the back, you know, which slowly but surely, bit by bit, time by time, led me back out there using. And You know, it was never around my daughters at the time, you know, because at the time, the eldest one was 19, I had a 16 and a 13-year-old. And so, yeah, my eldest daughter was seeing someone, and, you know, she ended up moving to Preston with him. And to cut a long story short, she was getting mentally and physically abused by him. And, you know, the one thing I swore I'd never do is have a family, a broken family, you know, but that had already happened. You know, I'd gone off for 15 years, then, you know, got to meet back up with my daughters, started having that good relationship. The eldest one moves to Preston. A couple of months down the line, I find out that it's been a physical and abusive relationship, to where she then came and lived with me for a couple of months, for 4 months. Now, at that time, as I said, I'd started picking up and I was starting to use again. You know, and it didn't, my disease told me it doesn't matter how much pain and hurt she's in at the moment. Just as long as you're there, you're all right. You know, to where like some days, some nights, she probably wanted me there, and I'd be out. You know, and where I lived was kind of like a recovery homes, and so no one was really allowed to stay there. And again, by the grace of God, like, you know, the staff found out, and the young lady at the time, she came round and says, look, you know, she's not meant to be here, but I'll turn a blind eye, because, you know, she says, I'm a mother myself. And she knew what was going on. I told her what had happened. And so they helped me find a place for her. And now Southport's like a 40-minute drive to where she's living, in Seaforth. And as soon as she moved to Seaforth, I went and I decorated it for her. And my disease was all over me then, you know, because I couldn't cope with the fact of, because I'd never put the mother in a physical relationship. I'm not like that with women, you know what I mean? And to know your precious daughter's been getting beat on, and she was pregnant at the time, and he's kicked her in the stomach, sticking her finger down her throat and that, and I'm trying to process this, and now she's left, and I'm using that as an excuse then to go out and keep using, you know. And again, the disease had me shut her away, shut all my daughters away again. Do you know what I mean? But when they really needed me the most, you know, and I went back out there for another year. And again, and I keep saying it, by the grace of God, you know, my sister came and seen me one day, and the day that she came to see me, I was living like an animal, you know. I was a right mess. Do you know what I mean? It was, as they say, people in addiction, it's like, you know, I was probably like 8 stone, feeling a mess, and she's didn't know she was coming. There's just been a knock on the window, curtains are shut, so I don't know who it is. She never said it was, it's your sister. And so she ended up getting off, and I've got myself ready. I'm rough, so I need to go out, make some money. I've gone and seen my mate at the shop, and he's where my sister always goes, and asks him, has he seen me? So he's gone, look, your sister's here. Your sister's been here. She wants you to call her. And if it wasn't for him giving me his phone and stood at the front of the shop, I probably wouldn't have. Well, I wouldn't have phoned her. So anyway, I phoned my sister, and she was halfway back to Preston, and she came. She said, "Stay there. I'm coming now." So half an hour, 40 minutes later, she rocks up, and you know, I was desperate. You know what I mean? I'm not going to lie. For 2 months prior to this happening, I was desperate, where I was crying most nights. Do you know what I mean? I just wasn't happy. I was, you know, I was speaking out, asking for help. you know. And so anyway, yeah, my sister's come along and she's offered me a place in recovery homes, and she actually worked for recovery homes at the time. She worked at the Warrington, the one in Warrington, and she said, look, she says, if I can get you a place in recovery homes in Preston, she says, town centre, she says, because I know you like the town centre because I've always lived in town. She said, would you, do you feel that you're ready now to take this opportunity? You know, and me and my sister, both in tears, and that it was like my prayers had been answered. And within 3 weeks, I'd come to recovery homes. You know, I came last August. I came into recovery last August, and you know, one of the rules is you can't move in unless you're on 30 ml meth. So I got a script from Southport that I brought up here, and I stayed at my mum's for 5 nights, and it was hard them 5 nights coming off the amount that I was taking to 30 ml meth. But you know, I believed, being around my family, that I could do this time. And so I came into recovery homes, and you know, there's a few things that you've got to do. You've got to get active and you've got to get involved. You know, and one of them is, you know, NA, as well as other things. But and for me, I got clean. You know, I'm coming up a year clean, the 17th for this month, and you know, if I look back then, you know, it was hard to get a bloody day clean. And so yeah, so you know, I mean, I started getting involved with NA through Zoom, and let me tell you, it wasn't easy. You know, I struggled with it at first, and you know, because it's, yeah, I'll camera off, yeah, mic off, and just leave it there and listen, you know. And I've always found it easy because I was only on a script for a couple of months. I found it easy when I was on the script. As soon as I come off my script, the zip went over my mouth, my camera was always off. And a month after coming off my script, I started suffering really bad with my health, and which I'm still struggling with today. But so my head was telling me, well, listen, you know, I'm not going to sit there in discomfort and get in and get myself involved with it. And that's kind of what I told myself right through until the first meeting opened up in Preston. Now, this is where I'm glad that even though I wasn't really using Zoom, you know, I was watching and listening, because it was like, I can sit here in discomfort and get nowhere in my recovery, or I can be sat in a meeting in discomfort and get somewhere in recovery. And so that's what I did, you know. Bit me lip, went to my first meeting on my own, sat in and I listened. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't come straight away, you know. You know, it is something that you've really got to want and really got to push at, but the rewards are so great when you do buckle up and listen, ring people, connect, and work a program. And I say this, don't say this lightheartedly, because in the last year, well, the last year has been really difficult for me personally, but the last 4 months have been extra difficult in the respect of, you know, my 2 eldest daughters lost their mother to cancer 4 months ago. My youngest daughter has been self-harming, and she's took 3 overdoses, and she's only 16. you know. But I started playing a part in their lives when I came into recovery a year ago now. And you know what? Through working a program, attending meetings, reaching out to people, you know, I'm here for them today. You know, I'm constantly talk to them every day. You know, I connect with them every day. You know, I'm able to save money now. I'm able to, you know, buy presents for everyone, you know, obviously my daughters, but for you know, I've got nieces, I've got a grandchild, and you know, I've got my mum and my sister now in my life. Do you know what I mean? And they're what makes it all worthwhile. Do you know what I mean? To have not unplugged and gone out using on anything that I've come across over the last year, which, you know, if I wasn't working a program and the friends that I've got now around me, you know, easily I'd be back out there using. And, you know, getting asked to come on here and share my life story, you know, yeah, I was nervous, and it's like, you know, when they start asking me to share in meetings, it's like, you know, and I hear people's shares, and my head always tells me, oh, I can't share like that, you know. But the thing is, it's helping people in the recovery. You know, you've got to push through that fear, you know, to be able to achieve your goals, you know, because a lot of us have spent so long with our head in the ground. Do you know what I mean? With suffering from the disease of addiction, you know, and it's easy to not want to pull your head up, but the benefits through changing your life, and I say this again, through working a program and getting to know people that have been there, that are clean, that know what you're going through, and that are able to help and support you, is key. You know, I'm very thankful today that I'm alive. You know, I'm very thankful for my daughters, family, friends that I've made in recovery, the opportunity of the platform that I'm on tonight to help me in my recovery, and hopefully help people in their recovery that maybe have experienced the same thing. And, you know, just to let you know that there is hope out there. You know, just reach out, speak to someone. Doesn't matter who it is, but, you know, don't carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. And so, yeah, I'll leave it there. And again, I appreciate asking me to come on the platform and give a little bit back. All right, cheers, guys.
Thanks ever so much, Chris.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you ever so much. It's really important, you know. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes, and we're going to get Will on board. What do you say? What do you say to that? You know, and that's what it's about, this, Chris. It's about acknowledging us in recovery, yeah, and shortening that narrative, and not just putting us in a box and we can't do this. And it's really important that people understand that you just give it a bit of you in your life, man, and you don't realise what you've been through. And that's what this is about. It's about acknowledging for an individual, and you taking responsibility for your recovery and realising, yeah, you do want to support people, and you do want to help your community, you do want to help your family. No, because that's because it's not just us, is it, in our addiction? And we have families, and we have loved ones who care. Do you know? And the services you mentioned, how many services are we? And that's not even half of your story. It's just that's a tiny bit, people. That's a snippet of what he's been through. Snippet. I get passionate around that, me, Chris, because I love it. I'm about people realising where we've been and what we've done. Yeah, we're never going to be listened to. So that's why this has been made for us. You know what I mean? So that's why this liking and sharing is so important. We get out there. I got goose pimples, mate. I did. I've been wanting to hear your story. I've known you for a few months when you live in the same building as me. And I've been wanting to know what you're about because we don't really, we talk, but
Yeah.
And you give me an insight to you, man. Do you know, and the abuse, you know. Do you know what I was thinking when you were saying that stuff? I wish that the services that have been there, what there is today, then I probably would have had a better of a chance of never becoming an addict, because back in the day, back in the 80s, because we're quite old people, there wasn't much out there for us, you know. It was social services, police, and that was just about it. You know, today you are so lucky in what you've got out there, and that's why these services like we had, you know, Red Rose Recovery and Love, and like just all of them, they're just so important. It's so important for people getting a platform, and it kind of brings you out of your shell with them. You know, it does. It's bringing you out of shell. It's bringing you the confidence. That's why we ask people to do this. We don't just ask, you know, we want to bring that confidence out in you because we believe that you've got something within you and to give it back. Sorry that I've rabbited on a little bit there, but it's so important that people realise it, see it for what it is. So we know that. So what do you do today, Chris, for you recover? I'm going to ask you a question. So what do you do? What's your life?
What's my life in recovery?
Yeah.
Evolves. So yeah, you know, working with a sponsor, and attending regular meetings is a big thing. You know, having friends today, you know, and just not people that I see. I can see. What's the word? So yeah, making friends today, having connections with friends that like me for who I am. Do you know what I mean? I don't have to manipulate anyone today. You know, in order for them to like me. Do you know what I mean? People like me today for who I am. You know, and it's working a program. You know, NA is a big thing for me. You know, my recovery comes first. You know, because my recovery's got me where I am with me daughters. I'm there, able to help them through the bad times. Do you know what I mean? And just to sleep, knowing that they know that, because I involve them where I'm up to in recovery and how I'm doing and what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? I don't just keep that for myself. I always let them know where I am and what I'm up to. And even like tonight, I was on the phone to them all, and I'm like, oh, doing my life story tonight, and they're like, oh yeah, great, oh brilliant, Dad. I mean, they don't really grasp it, and I'm thinking, yeah, I'm bloody nervous though. Do you know what I mean? But you know, they know that I'm well today. Do you know what I mean? And also starting to do bits like doing this. You know, you asked me to do this, and it would have been so easy for me to go, as you know, last week or 2 weeks ago, I wasn't doing too great. And it would have just been easy to go, nah, you know what, just leave it. But working a program for me tells me and lets me know that doing things like this is not only helping others, but it's helping me in my recovery. You know what I mean? And I want recovery, you know. And so, yeah, so I'm just grateful for where I am, and, you know, and I've done bits of other things and that, but as you know yourself, another month or two and I'll be able to spring out of bed and that, and just get involved and get up to that little bit more. Do you know what I mean? But I do a lot. Do you know what I mean? I do service. I get myself to service.
Can I butt in a little bit there, Chris?
Yeah.
Sorry, Jason, can you put yourself on mute? We're getting a bit of a back throw off this. I have loads and loads of comments that are absolutely fantastic, but I know that Teresa's had her hands up for ages, and I think it's a question, is it, Teresa? So do you want to go
Not
first?
really, not so much a question. I'm not going to put him on the spot and ask him a question. I just wanted to say that I thought that was really powerful, and the way that you did that, because that's a big life story to be telling in half an hour, and you managed to. It's so important. I work with women who are on this kind of journey, being able to understand the full picture of how you get there and how hard it is to get out of it. So I think you did a really good job. So just wanted to say that.
Oh, nice one, Teresa.
Yeah. The
Nice one.
comments that I have got coming back in is absolutely amazing. There was Kathy, Ozzy, Joanne, Leanne, Nick, Glenn, another Joanne, and Chris. Some of the comments is saying, Chris, you just show true strength. We all need a sister like that. The bond is amazing and unbreakable. Well done. Such a powerful story. Thank you for sharing. Well done again. People sit in the AA meetings just to tick boxes. It takes something in your head to click before you throw yourself into recovery. That's very true. I think it takes hitting the bottom before anybody wants to scrape the way back out. You're very brave, brilliant share, excellent share. And the last one was getting relationships back with the family is amazing. It's also very hard and takes a lot of trust. But you know what? It's worth it in the end, and working at it is worth every single thing. Your story is amazing. People's stories never cease to put me in awe of how people come through traumas in life. And your story was just absolutely astounding to listen to. I can't even think of words that are good enough. Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you everyone for the comments as well. And yeah, I appreciate that. Nothing but love for you all. Cheers, guys.
Jason, you're on mute. You can come back in now.
Yeah, sorry. So is Will, are you there?
I'm indeed.
Yeah. So I'm just going to say a little bit about Will first. I don't want to say anything really. I just want to say that, you know, you're a lot younger than us, like, and it's important that we recognise that, you know. And that's what I don't know. I'm nervous. Yeah, it's really important that we recognise the youth today. You know, remember, people, there isn't just the addiction side of stuff that we've got to sort out. You know, there's the mental health side, and the, you know, the young people who are coming through at the moment. It's really important that we acknowledge you and what you can give back to recovery. So I'm just going to say, yeah, and I hope you smash it.
Thank you. Well, evening everyone. My name's Will. I'm an addict. This is my first time doing my life story, so it's a bit weird for me. But I'll lead on from where we started. I'm sat here in my family home, which to me is an incredible part of recovery. Finding, reigniting these relationships that you thought were completely destroyed. It's my 21st birthday tomorrow, and I never thought that I'd be celebrating it in recovery. I never thought I'd find my recovery full stop. I was quite kind of admitted to the fact that I'd die as an addict. So it's just like, oh, I don't care anymore. I'll die this way. So yeah, my name's Will. Like I said, I'm from Lancaster originally, and I think I'm just gonna chat for like the next half an hour or so. I'm gonna stick a timer on so I'll make sure I'm not too short or too long. Guess the best place to start is probably the beginning. So yeah, I'm obviously one of the younger people in recovery, so a lot of my like childhood memories and stuff like that are still quite kind of vivid. So I thought I'd kind of start by talking about my own background and stuff like that. You know, if you get anything from my message, that's brilliant. But if you don't whatsoever, you know, just have some praying time. Think about the homeless people that are out there at the moment, those that still haven't found their recovery, and keep coming back. So I hope this little period is useful for all you guys. And hello to everyone on Facebook. I can't actually see you on Zoom, but I've heard that some of you there. So I grew up in a really loving family, and you know, a family that wanted the best for me. We were really into the outdoors growing up. So because obviously Lancaster is real close to the Lake District, and we'd go up to the Lake District every single weekend. And you know, I'd be fishing, kayaking, canoeing, all of these things that, you know, a kid would love to do. My dad's a businessman, so he worked away a lot. So my mum kind of brought us up, like, you know, through the week. But in terms of my childhood, especially kind of like in my primary school days, I had a really good kind of setup for life. I you know, I didn't come from a family of abuse, really. I didn't come from any of the kind of ideas that some people have in their head about, you know, what creates an addict. I don't really have any of them from my initial background. And I think that in itself, I'll get into it more, but it's, you know, it shows that addiction doesn't choose whatsoever. You know, I don't believe that it comes from just, you know, a certain circumstance in early life or anything like that. You know, it's a disease, and we have it or we're not. But actually, on the other hand to that, I try not to think about why I'm an addict, because I am one. And if when I start considering the bigger questions, I often get in my head about it, which I'll tell you a lot more about. So in primary school, I was all right. I was relatively clever, but I was a very emotional kid. I think I still am quite an emotional person. Obviously, I wasn't in my active addiction. Everything was just numb. But I'm 2 months into my recovery, so I apologise. I'm not like some Jedi Master recovery yet. I'm just in my first steps, but I got asked to do this, so service is really important to me already. You know, I'm learning a few things. So yeah, primary school, I was relatively athletic and all of that kind of stuff, but I'd often lie about being ill, and this was like one of the first times that I start looking back that I realized like my highly manipulative side would come out in my personality. So, you know, I'd be able to make like fake sick and stuff like that to blag my mum. So I could watch like Top Gear all day, or, you know, anything. I can fake any illness to get me a day off school in primary school. And yeah, I think that was kind of one of the first times I really noticed. I also used to nick things just because, you know, just not really because I wanted it, just because it gave me an excitement. And, you know, looking back, I can really see how that kind of was part of my disease. Moving into high school, in my kind of first years of high school, I went to an all right school, and I got into my rugby massively. So I played rugby like 5 times a week, and a big part of rugby culture is the kind of like stiff upper lip kind of thing, and I found myself kind of losing my kind of empathetic and sympathetic sides of my personality, that kind of like highly emotional kid that I was in primary school, when you kind of, you know, training out in February in the snow when it's pitch black pretty much every single night and stuff like that. But I was good at it. I was quite good at rugby, and I got into even more sports. And I was doing well at school. And everything looked good, and that is an important image I thought I'd capture for you, because yeah, when it gets to my addiction, it was one of the reasons that I continued using. It's kind of one of these cycles. So when I was about 15, I had a really bad concussion on the rugby pitch. No excuse for my behavior whatsoever, but I think it's really important to talk about. So I was knocked out for about like 5 minutes. They thought I'd broken my neck, which thankfully I hadn't in the end. But I got airlifted to Manchester. I had like an amnesia of about 2 or 3 month period, and I just woke up ever so slightly different as a person. In many ways, my memory had changed, my kind of like cognitive abilities had decreased. But I just felt different as a person. You know, I hit the part of my brain which essentially looks at emotion and all that kind of stuff. And it was very soon after that that I then had the urge to try weed initially, because my mates were like, oh, this will help with the pain. So, you know, when I was still in quite a cognitively sensitive situation, I was putting psychoactive substances in my body, which led to all sorts of funky situations, to say the least. Like, it felt like I've had a few instances of this where, but it felt like kind of far more powerful than it should be, because my brain was still kind of rebalancing itself. And because of my concussion, I also had to stop playing the contact sport and stop playing a lot of sport, which was something that was so important to me. So there's this huge void in my life that I was just trying to figure out, you know, what do I do with this void? So yeah, obviously it started with weed, like for a lot of people, you know, and when I was really rebellious, you know. I was one of them people who said, I think a lot of us would probably identify with this, is just, you know, if you say don't do that, I'll do it. Like, I will do it, and I'll do it to like a complete extreme. So my parents, you know, as loving and as amazing as they are, they're really great people. They were quite kind of strict on the boundaries that they set compared to some of the other kids, and I kind of wanted what them other kids wanted. You know, the ability to stay out all night and stuff. Like, I just like that wasn't available for me. But in my head, that kind of romanticized the idea of this kind of like party lifestyle that those guys were having, which is when the relationship initially started breaking down with my parents, because they were kind of saying, you've got to do this, you've got to do this, and I'm saying, no, you tell me you want to do that, I'm going to do the complete opposite. So I was driven towards a group of people who, you know, were obviously like the next step up from weed, like initially just taking like party drugs on a weekend and stuff like that. I remember my first E. I'm sure everyone remembers the first E. And yeah, I was walking through town, and this kind of surge of euphoria, and a sense of belonging, which I hadn't really felt since I had my kind of accident. And although I didn't really felt like I had belonged with that group of people, after that experience and that kind of like shared euphoria, it kind of really doubled down that I needed to kind of crack on with it. Unfortunately, through my teenage years, there was a lot of suicide in my life. So guy that I was incredibly close to, yeah, he committed suicide. But one gift he did give to me was a part of his record collection. So in my initial period of using, I got massively into music, and music was kind of, it's almost like the antithesis of everything the drugs was trying to do to me. You know, I had a quiet head, but even though I progressed with my music, the drug taking started to get worse and worse. I always had the feeling where if we were at a party or something and people could just kind of like go over a night and kind of like not get rid of their entire bag, or like only take half a pill at a time kind of thing, and they could do that fine, and I was always the one saying, oh, come on, just have another, come on, we can do it, we'll be fine, and like latching on to that initial euphoria that I'd had, even though it was just kind of drifting further and further away. That then led to kind of doing my GCSEs, and then my A-levels, coming on to my A-levels. Now my brain wasn't working well, I couldn't concentrate. So naturally, the answer to that was the speed. So I did an awful lot of speed in my A-levels. Absolutely, that's how I revised. You know, staying up for like 3-4 days at a time, just cramming in all of these useless facts about geography and stuff like that. But school was a big part. You know, I had a good, although the people that I was friends with were using, everyone was using, like the school itself was a good place. And I was coming to the end of my school time and I was like, okay, what's the next step? Now, I think this is kind of a bit of a systemic issue, but a lot of high schools it's just you're going to university. That's what you do after you get your A levels. You know, there's no other option, especially the school that I went to. So I started going around universities to have a look, and yeah, and I ended up at Newcastle University. And I was going to go to a different university. I was going to go to Durham, but my girlfriend at the time, and I'm sure you all know how powerful first loves can be, was going to Newcastle as well. So I was like, great, we'll go to Newcastle, happy ever after. I don't care about my course, but I was so kind of addicted to this love I was feeling, this acceptance, because I hadn't always felt it. I'd always felt like kind of a bit on the outside. I thought, fuck it, the course doesn't matter. It's all about the girlfriend, man. It's all that matters. So naturally, I get to university, and within like 2 weeks, the relationships failed. So I'm left in this town, which is like famous for its partying, like probably one of the hardest partying unis in the UK, if not the. Another massive hole in my life, and obviously my answer to fill that void was drugs, but it was a bit different. Each time I tried to fill a hole in my life with drugs, the drugs got a bit more hard, and the using became more regular and more consequential. So I found an okay group of mates with them because we use together, and it's easier to be friends with people that you use with, just because you don't call each other out for all of your fucking horrible behaviors. If you use them together, it's just like, oh, it's fine, we're just using them together. But I started going out on my own as well. And I had this massive loneliness in my heart, a massive loneliness. So kept on going. I kept on getting worse and worse. At the time, it was ecstasy and alcohol that were like my big ones, and ended up leaving university because I thought, I mean, my attendance was about 18% at university, so it was hardly fantastic. I was on a course that I just wasn't interested on, and you know, I'd ended up somewhere I wanted to be because I thought I'd found me happily ever after, and obviously I hadn't. So I thought, right, have another change in my life, and I do that a lot. I do that an awful lot. When I get scared, I just run away. So I went home for a little bit, trying to get clean. Couldn't, and just kind of kept on substituting with other drugs. And then I thought, right, let's get back to like the image that I had of my childhood, which I talked about a bit earlier. Because you know, I had this image that, you know, 5-7 years ago, I had all of these amazing plans for life, and it was already slipping down the shitter. So I was like, right, let's go and live in the Lake District. So I used to find a lot of peace there. So I did. I went off to the Lake District and worked in Ambleside. And so this is kind of bringing us up to this past summer. Thinking, you know, that will fix me. That'll sort me out. I'll be fine after that. But it didn't. I'm probably a bit of a businessman myself at heart, and I realised that there was some soft drugs in Ambleside, but there weren't a lot of hard drugs. So one thing led to another, and before I knew it, I was, you know, shifting pretty large quantities of cocaine from Liverpool up to Ambleside through county lines, to you know be doing that and selling and stuff like that. And when you've got a large amount of cocaine, and you try a bit of cocaine, and you realise you can have as much as you want because you're selling it in pretty decent quantities, that it very, very quickly gets out of hand. Soon I wasn't able to sell because I was just on it the whole time. So I was buying off people. I was spending about $5 grand a month on my habit, because I couldn't function without it. I'm not sure if anyone's heard about Elton John, and there's this apparently harrowing line about Elton John taking a line of cocaine every 4 minutes, and I was getting to the stage where that was pretty rookie numbers, you know, and it shows how bad, because I remember hearing that before I had an issue with cocaine, thinking, oh, that's absolutely mad. But I was very similar by the end. I was bulimic, I wouldn't eat because I got all my calories from alcohol. It's 2,000 bottles, 2,000 calories a bottle of red wine. So, there's breakfast, lunch, and dinner for you. That went on for about 6 months, just barely ever eating, cocaine, staying up for 3 or 4 days, not eating for a matter of weeks, and binge eating, and completely lonely. At this point in my life, I have literally no one. It's just me in my bedroom. Being all philosophical, thinking that this is okay, and I live in the Lake District. People aren't drug addicts in the Lake District. When I was like the actual complete fucking definition in the dictionary of what one is. And this all led. I actually forgot to mention them, but I'd already had a few suicide attempts. But I tried to hang myself. Very nearly succeeded. But my roommate, who was kind of like in the room next door, found me, thankfully, just in time. And after that, I was just like, fuck this shit. Like, really, fuck this shit. Apologise. In fact, I don't apologise about my language, because it's serious stuff. The drugs really weren't working whatsoever for me anymore. I could only take drugs. That's all I could do. You know what I mean? I was just like I was like a Hoover of drugs at this point. And I was puking bile every single day, which was awful. Burning the back of my throat, feeling like a perforation in my nose, and all sorts of things. And I had this image of all of that kind of innocent kid and what he wanted to achieve, and now how all my friends were graduating university and getting in really serious relationships and just like having love in the life. I had nothing because I'd stolen from multiple jobs whilst I was in Ambleside, really badly. I'd stolen from my parents, to force money out of them. I used to say to them, I owe money to drug dealers and they're coming around to our house unless I can pay them, not when I owed them anything, just so I could actually go and get the drugs. That's how manipulative I was in my using. So I called my key worker, who's Lisa from We Are With You at the time. And I was just like, look, I'm in a fucking shit way here, because I hadn't spoken to her for about a year, because, I'm right. I know exactly, what isn't wrong with me. I'm fine. I'm fine. I can do this on my own. And she told me this before I'd gone to Ambleside, which is like, right, you need to get you sent in a recovery home. Now, because my image of an addict was someone who lived, in a crack den with no teeth, who's about 60 years old, and like made a proper career out of it. And I didn't feel I was that. I still felt I was young and I could keep on doing this. But it wasn't the drugs that were going to kill me. It was the consequences of the drugs on my head, which, as I've mentioned, was already fragile to start off with. So I got into a recovery home in Preston. Thank God, within about 3 days of self-referring. I had to leave the job that I was somehow just about keeping together, leave the flat that I had, and this is kind of where I get to more of the solution. I've realised I've just babbled on for 20 minutes about my life before getting to the solution, and I'm all about the solution. So I got into this home, and I tried NA before. I tried it on Zoom through lockdown, but I was still using, I was just turning my camera off, having a line of coke, and then just chatting shit to, lube people up and make them think I'm all right. But I was broken. I got picked up for my first meeting the first day I got there, and just broke down in the car on the way, because I was just so fucking done with my own shit. And from that point on, and this would be my advice to everyone, just dive head first into it. Like, it is complete life or death what we're talking about it. And yeah, I try and get to 5-6 meetings a week. I've got service. And service is really important, because especially in your early recovery, just make sure you actually get to the place, which is absolutely vital. And I've learned this. I've learned a few things. So here are a few of the things I've learned. First of all, I try and split my addict self and myself into two separate people. I use the analogy from the Lord of the Rings of Gollum and Smeagol. So you've got Smeagol, who's like this kind of happy, goodwill person who wants you to progress in life, and then you've got Gollum, who's this horrible version, like kind of inversion of Smeagol, who just wants the fucking precious, I guess. But you know, wants to see you be lonely, wants you to see all of these things. It doesn't want any happiness for you whatsoever. It likes the distraught that it brings. So I've learned that, and the second thing I'm learning is, like I said before, all I could do was use. I could just about keep down a part-time job. I was full-time initially, but then that started coming down. But now I can do everything but, and that was something I was really scared about when I initially got clean. It was like, right, I've got off the drugs now. This is fucking terrible. But for me, it's replacing that kind of like mass. It's a lot of time, isn't it? It's a lot of time of your day that normally would be taken for me putting stuff up my nose or down my throat. And finding, you know, positive ways to spend that time. And I'm finding a calling in through my higher power, because I'm working a program with NA, and I've got an amazing sponsor and amazing actual friends around me, not using friends who you're just friends with because you all know the dealers, and if your dealer's not there, their dealer will probably be there, etc. But friends who actually want the best for you, and will call you out on your bullshit, but also, you know, really tell you that you're doing all right when you're doing all right as well. And it's learning for me as well that what we have it's not a moral deficiency, because that was a reason I kept on using, apart from the fact that I thought I was going to be this and I was turning up to be in the gutter. But all of the things I was doing to people made me feel awful, and the only way that I could get rid of those thoughts was by putting another chemical in me. So obviously you've done what you've done, and we've got to make amends to those people through time. But we're not responsible for our illness. We're really not. Much like, you know, if someone gets cancer, unless they've been smoking all life, I guess it's not really their fault, or any other illness like that. I don't think we should distinguish it whatsoever. And yeah, the message for me and young people in recovery just has to be addressed, because I know as a young person I'm still treated as a patient by my few remaining contacts with people I've used with. You know, I'm the nutcase getting recovery, not them who are still out there kind of keeping on using. You know, I think they all need recovery, if I'm quite honest, but you know, I can't control that, only they can. And I think we've all got to kind of work together on breaking down the stigmas that stop people getting into recovery at a young age, like me, which I've been incredibly lucky to do. You know, because every person that I meet in recovery is maybe, you know, 40, 50, says, I wish I'd done it at your age. And like, if I can make it my life's work to understand why they didn't when they realized they should, and then enable people to do that, I think that's what would give me the ultimate happiness in life. You know, I'm not really bothered about the material things anymore or anything like that. You know, if even I can help one young person realize on the kind of the true story of recovery and the true benefit of it, and realizing that, yeah, you can't do drugs, but you can do everything else which you couldn't do before. I think the world would be a lot happier of a place. And you know, it's not just me who's got that job. I think everyone has. I'm just going to check how I'm doing for time. I'll wrap up pretty soon. But I'm also, just so you know, I just thought I'd talk about this quickly too. I'm starting doing a lot of the media for LUF. Obviously, this is the organisation that's doing this call. And I'd love to hear people's opinions on ways that we can improve our outreach to people. Because without being offensive, I'm not trying to be, it could be better. And when we talk about our disease and it being so vital and so desperately important, like literally life or death, us being able to reach people properly through social media, through good content and stuff like that, will save people's lives. It will do. I was very near the end. Everyone was very near the end when they hit their rock bottom, or bottoms, because I think, for some people, including myself, a rock bottom can be every single fucking day when you're using against your will. So, I'd love to open that conversation to people as well. But I tell you what, I think I will pretty much leave it there. Thank you so much, everyone. I hope some people have got some stuff from it. And if you've got any questions, please ask. Thank you.
Whoop, whoop. Well, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Some comments. Number one is happy birthday to you and have a wonderful, wonderful day with your family. That's come from so many people. You are a superstar, says Ed. I have said, wow, what an interesting young person you are. You will be a great ambassador, and the young people will certainly listen to you. Grab onto him, everybody, grab him, keep him. This is what we need now. And this is what was missing years ago when all the other people were struggling and going through their addictions. There was nowhere like this, and no people like you that will stand up and talk about it. It's all pushed underneath the carpet. Nick says that the energy and positivity that you put into everything. And thank you for sharing your story. Ozzy has said, what a strong young man. Keep your head up, mate. The sky is a much better view than the gutter. Totally agree with him there. Totally agree with him there. You should be so proud of yourself. You inspire everybody. And that is what people say. You are so inspiring. For a young man, you are amazing. And Teresa, I know your hand's up. Do you want to come in?
Well, firstly, happy birthday for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Just how eloquent you are and what an amazing young man you are to be able to tell that story. It's not easy. And for someone of such a young age to be able to put it in such a context and give a different side as well, a different experience, because it's not always one pathway into that, is it? There are so many different sides. Well done. I was meant to leave and go and pick my son up, but I've told my mum I'm going to be late because I didn't want to not listen. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
So can I pass back to Jason? Sorry, Jason, I just got so overawed with his story and listening to him, because it's been wonderful.
I feel like a proud big brother. Like, what do I say? Well, I'm just so proud of you, mate. Honestly, flying the flag for youth, and that's the important thing. Because those old ones now, as you said to us, it's you, man. The next generation. It's so important that we get out there, and that's why we keep liking and sharing and stuff. Like we say, we're not just inclusive. It's about everything, about all aspects. You talked about his mental health, talks about how we felt at school, and me, Will, from my side of the fence is I didn't have any of that. I never went to school. I was in institutions, but it just shows you, what recovery does, and it brings us together. And that's the common bond that we have, is that we're addicts and we get each other, we understand. I've never heard it before, and it's like Chris says, I was so excited, and I kind of just don't know what to say, mate. The Gollum and Schmeagol stuff, I definitely get that. I'm proper shocked.
I know. I can see him in school, standing in front of the school, 40 years, 40 years, how old is that? Sorry, 11 year 11, I don't know, whatever they are now. But you know what, that is...
Is he still there, Will? Are you still on, Will?
I am
Yeah,
indeed.
he is, yeah. It's just amazing, and you do get to people, and it shows.
I've got a question for you.
Go on, Jason.
So what does it feel like to be alive today?
Well, it's good. There's something I shared in a meeting. I guess we've got a little bit of time. Something I shared in a meeting a couple of weeks ago. Coming up to this time of year, I used to place bets with myself as to which month of the next year I'd die. You know, I it's the only kind of humour I could have because everything else was so fucking shit. I mean, my humour is still quite dark, but maybe that's just me. But to be alive today, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I'm thankful. I'm thankful that things like this exist. And you know, that we have these things now, because I completely appreciate that for you guys, maybe it didn't exist in the same kind of capacity. And I'm really glad that you guys are kind of open-minded into like getting our input into the way that we can do things for everyone. It's wicked. I mean, life on life's terms, life still happens. So it's my 21st birthday tomorrow, but at the same time, we went to the vets today, and we had to put down my dog, our family dog, I've grown up with. And you know, I love dogs. I love dogs, especially obviously my dog. So that's going to be tough. But I've got people around me and stuff like that. It'll be incredibly tough. I'm sure I'll cry all day on Monday when she gets put down. But you know, I've got ways of combating it now, and I know that if drugs wouldn't make it any better whatsoever, it would just make it worse. And if anything, the fact that I'll actually be able to feel it, you know, the ability to feel emotions again is great. You know, I'll be crying, but I'll be thinking to myself, hey, at least I can cry now. Do you know what I mean? And you know, that I feel like I'm each day. First of all, each day I'm waking up not with a piss wet bed or anything like that. I'm waking up with a nice fresh head, ready to tackle the day. But you know, I'm ready, and I've got my emotions back, and my head's losing fog day by day, and you know, I'm ready for it. And like I said, just my advice to everyone: just dive head first into it, because it's the most important thing you'll ever do. It's the most important thing I've ever done.
Yeah. Will, you were talking about your dark. Sorry, Jason. Will, you were talking about your dark side of your personality. It must be something to do with mental health, because I have the most weirdest sense of humour. And if anybody that has ever been onto any of my groups with the quizzes that I do, that are not really quizzes, I have the most weirdest sense of humour ever.
I think addicts do, because of the shit that we've done in the past. You either laugh or cry about it, but when you're laughing, you're still laughing at really fucked up shit. So, like, it's just the way we're built, isn't it? But I quite, you know, it's part and parcel in it.
Yeah, well, it makes me laugh, and that's all that I look for. Oh, wonderful to meet you. It's been a pleasure. Back to you, Jason, again. Sorry.
We love you. Like we keep saying to each other, we love you, man. We love you. Has he gone now? So, Barbara, thank you once again. We love you, brother. And happy birthday for tomorrow, yeah?
Thank you. I'm going to have to go because I'm about to have my dinner. But, yeah, thank you all so much, and I'll see you at the next LUF event, I'm sure.
Yeah, take care, mate, and God bless. See you soon.
All right.
Bye, mate. God bless. Thank you.
Well, what an amazing show we've had, Jason, and your first time. You've been wonderful.
I'm sorry about ranting on a bit, but I do get a bit passionate, you know.
Well, it's supposed to. That is the point. That's why we're all here. So I will let you finish up.
Well, I was just going to ask you what's happening in the community over December. You know, it's Christmas.
Yeah. Sorry.
Christmas.
I've been so carried away.
I'm actually out and seeing my kids at Christmas. I've been away for 6 years. like,
We're getting an awful lot.
I'm actually.
We're getting an awful lot of breakouts. Sorry, from there.
Yeah, no, it's fine. That's because we got excited. Because it's Christmas. I've been away for years. And this is my first Christmas out in many a year, so I am not a bad humble in any shape. Love Christmas, love it, especially for kids. And I remember, you know, we just done a few things over last weekend. You know, we raised money on the car boot in Preston. So I've been offline around of us all raising money for that. You know, and everybody took time out of the day. 4 o'clock in the morning, and we all got colds out of it. We all got head colds and was all writ off for most of the week. So we've been doing that. You know, we've got the Lancashire User Forum, what's coming up on the 15th. So yeah, right event or whatever it is, right?
Oh yeah, please don't forget that the free Christmas meal that is being put on in the Fresh Start Cafe in Preston is for anybody that's struggling or homeless, or it is on the 22nd and 23rd of December, and they're having 2 sittings a day, one at 1 p.m. and one at 3 p.m. I will put the phone number and the lady's name, that if you are interested, anybody that wants to go, just to contact her. Okay, so I will put that in the thing now.
Yeah, there's a limit of 20 people for us on that one. We've got our Christmas dinner coming up and all of it. Is it the 13th at the cafe facing the actual HMP prison, which most of us are not in, we're out. So yeah, there's that. There's quite a few things going on. Men's group, that's still going on a Tuesday. We still open up on a Thursday at 10 o'clock, well not 11 o'clock until 1 o'clock, and that's just for brew and banter. Coming towards Christmas, we all get connected, and do you know what? It's actually getting to be a good meeting. We're getting like a good 15 people in there at any given time now. So the numbers are really climbing, and it just shows you, you know, getting towards Christmas, how much people are struggling out there. And you know, one of the main things I just want to shout out to the people that are still suffering and the people on the streets. That's why we're doing this, and that's why that money's been raised. So we are going to put that back in the community in some way, shape, or form. I just hope it's gone all right, Babs.
I think it's been great. I think that the people that we have had on have been so interesting. The stories are all so inspiring. What is being done by Teresa is absolutely great. So I think it's down to you as host to thank everybody and say good night.
Yeah, okay, we'll do. So there we go, everybody. There's another live love, smashed it. Well, I hope so. It's my first, I don't know what you call it, hosting. Yeah, that's the word. I couldn't find it then. It's the first one. So I just want to say thank you to everybody. It's 2 time out of the day. People from picking the kids up, Treasy still there. You know, thank you for the boys. Thank you for the youth. Well, much love, mate. Happy birthday from tomorrow, and that's from everybody. All those lot in recovery and everybody. Everybody. Chris, thank you for taking so much time out of your day and all. I just want to thank you, everybody, for making it a special.
Somebody's on the chat for that free school meals, free Christmas meals. So, and keep well, everybody, and do enjoy Christmas and keep safe.
Yeah, Merry Christmas and stay blessed, everybody.
Nice.
Okay, good night.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Ta.